Hey, what's up guys, Kirk here again, and today I'm going to be doing my top 10 tips for Lightroom 5. The first tip I'm going to go through is organising your images by ratings and colours. This is something I do with all my images. As soon as they come into into Lightroom, I will give them a rating, and then my colours are there for when processing. When you primarily work in Lightroom for editing and organising your images, you'll quickly start to gather a large amount of photographs, and if you don't organise them properly, you'll easily lose track of them and images will get lost through your system. I recommend, after importing the images, go through them and give them a 1-star rating of any image that you like, and from there you can give it a higher rating after editing. I also colour label my images red, yellow and green. Red being images that I've started editing but I haven't gotten, I've still got a bit more to do. Yellow is images that I've pretty much 99% edited. Maybe I need to clone something out in Photoshop, maybe I have to do something with the processing. So it's at the very final stages and the master file hasn't been exported yet. And green is a file that's completely finished editing. I've done everything I wanted to, and I've also exported the master files out of it. So I've exported high-res JPEG, a high-res TIFF, a low-res JPEG for web use as well with watermarks. And that's when an image becomes green. I know that I'll be able to find the files I need for clients or uploading to my website or any social media sites. You can see on this page here, this is the sequence of images from a few weeks ago, and these, you can see the ones I've labelled 1 star, and then like this image here, I have then labelled it with 3 stars and a green colour label showing that I've completely finished it. So it's something really you should be doing. It's a great way of organising, because as soon as you go to your attributes up here, mine automatically goes to green. I can see a load of my favourite images through the last few months and all the way through the whole year of my catalogue. My next tip is using the hue, saturation and luminance panel in the main develop module. This is a great tool. I don't see many people using it. It's great for controlling colour, and this is an image that I can really show using it in. So when you're in the develop module, you'll see on the right hand side just here you've got HSL, colour and black and white. Now naturally I just go to the HSL, just click that once and you come up with the 3 options. Now looking at an image like this, it's pretty good. Sometimes I'll go into the hue and I will change the colours slightly in them, or trying to get the colours the same as how I saw them. So for example, let's have a look at the red, and you can slowly start pulling it one side to another and see what sort of effect it has. Now on this one, usually what I do is I'll bump it all to the one side and double click it back and just see what sort of effect it's having on the image. So you can see it there, it's added a bit around the clouds here. And let's just try the orange. So you can see the effect it has on there, obviously too much. So I'll just dial it down a bit and just add it there, take that down a little bit more. So already it's bringing a bit more punch, a bit more colour in the sky, and it's kind of blending the orange tones, the red tones together. So let's try the yellow. See, you can tell that's just too much again, so I just pull that back. And somewhere around about there is actually quite good. So the hue is really good for controlling what colours you see. The next one I usually go to the saturation. Control how saturated the colour is. So looking at this, as I can see, there's a lot of reds, a lot of oranges, and a lot of yellows. The yellows and oranges are already pretty colourful, and I noticed the reds were a little desaturated as they were in the clouds, so I won't mind bringing them up a bit. So again, I'm just going to click, and it will kind of show me where the effect will apply to. And obviously it's way too much there, so round about there is enough. And again with the orange, see, definitely way over the top, but again it's just to see what the effect is. So round about, yes, I like that, it's quite nice. Again with the yellow, a bit too much, but you can tell the difference it's having on the sky here. When I push that up, adds a bit, it makes the sky just pop a little bit more. So around about there I'm quite happy with. Also, what I've noticed in this image, we've got sort of greens here. I'm going to see if I can bring them out a bit. It's just done a little bit, but you know, it's just subtle differences. And then to finish it off, you go into the luminance one, and this is great for brightness and darkening certain colours. Now you'll see the orange being one of the huge colours in this image. If I just bring it down dark, you can see the effect it's having on it. Great for pulling down highlights in certain areas, like in a sunset the highlights will be a yellow, so you can just bring it down a little bit just there. So I'm just going to bring that down just a tiny bit, around about there. And I've also noticed in one of the scene, you can see that in the water here is quite blue, and that is reflected from a part of the sky here that you cannot see. So it's a little distracting, it's a little bright, so I'm just going to turn that blue down a little bit actually, and I'm just going to go back in the saturation and just tone that down a bit. It was just a little too bright for me. And that's it, that's hue, saturation and luminance tablet. The hue, saturation and luminance panel. The next tip I want to go to is presets. I find them really handy in Lightroom. If you have a certain style when editing and you want that style to stay with your photography, so you have a sort of consistency, I always save a preset of it and try and control it. So I'm going to do that in here. You can see this image. I love editing in black and white, and what I love doing is adding a split toning. It's something I like doing. It's very subtle, but it's something I try to do in all my images. So I've edited this image, and to create a preset, you can see in here, these are the presets here. You've got all the Lightroom ones that are generated for you, and then you've got your user presets as well. A lot of these are the ones I've downloaded, but I'm going to just show you now what to do to create your own. So I'm just going to show you now how to create a preset. So that I've got everything I want from this image. I've got the split toning. I haven't actually got that much, so I'm just going to add. Actually, I've got an 8 to be honest. I thought I did. So I'm just going to add a little bit, using my style is tiny bit of yellow and a little bit of blue, a bit like that. And that's the sort of style I go for. It's very subtle, but it's what I like. So I'm just going to create a preset of this now. It's very simple to do. What I've done is I've done editing this, but the only thing I want to say from this is turning the image to black and white and adding my custom split toning. So which you can see, saturation down to -100, and the split toning has the preset that I like to use on black and white images. It's very subtle, you can't really see it, but it is there, and I really like the effect. So to do that, you just click the little plus thing here, write in your preset name, so Kirk's split toning, and as you can see, I did one earlier, and what happens is usually when you first go on here, it'll look like that. I'll have all of them selected, and what you need to do is, depending on what you're wanting, but you can select the parts of the editing modules from here and choose which ones that you want to have an effect on other images. So in my case, it's just split toning. I don't want anything else happening. It's just split toning and saturation. That is it, nothing else. So I just click check none, leave process version, and then I'm going to click split toning and saturation, and that's it. You just leave it the way it is, and then click create, and there it is. You can see it just there. And now if I go back to my grid, pressing the G button thingy, keyboard, you know what I mean, I can go to another image and add that same preset. So for example, let's find an image I can change. Yeah, there should be one around here that's could work. And I've already edited this mountain, but I'll show it on here. So go to develop, and then I scroll down the presets, and if you look in the top left corner on the navigator thumbnail, you can see the presets working already. That one looks quite cool actually. And if you click it, it'll add the preset to the image. So we'll just go to the split toning, click it once, and there we are. You know, it's completely added the effect that I like to use on my images. Another great tip for Lightroom is the lights out option. This is great for getting rid of all the clutter and just quickly looking at the image that you want to, and it kind of gets rid of everything else. So all you do is you press L on the keyboard, like so, and there it will show all the images, and it will kind of dim out everything in the background. Press it again and it'll make everything black, just like that. But it's great for comparing images. So say I just want to look at, I just want to look at two images, so scroll up a bit. So I just want to compare this one with this one, and then press L, press it again, I can have a look at them. But you can also do this in the loop module. So again, press L, press it again, and it's just a great way of looking at your image. One thing I recommend to all Lightroom users is learn the shortcuts on the keyboard. They make the time go by so quickly when you're trying to edit through hundreds and thousands of images. So some of the best ones are G, which sends you to the grid, which I'm already in. So if I just go to the develop module, if I want to go straight back, I press G on the keyboard, and it sends me back right. If I wanted to look at one image on its own, and I want to go in the loop view, sometimes you double click it, or I could just press E and I go straight to it. So it's G back, and to develop, it's D. So it's really simple to remember. They're probably one of the main ones I use all the time. But I use other ones as well, which one of the ones is crop. So if I want to crop an image, and the great thing about it, if I know that I'm going to crop it before I start editing, and I'm in the grid option here, I will press the letter R, and it'll send me straight to the crop module, which is really handy to have. Another one that I always go straight to is also shown this image, is the spot removal. Everybody gets spots on the images, so you need to remove them, and it's one of the things I also do at the very start of editing an image. So on that one it's Q, and as you can see, I have removed quite a few spots on this image. Longer exposure, it's obviously going to get spots on it, and I had a dirty sensor in Iceland, so that will send me straight to it. I press it again and it just removes it. G to go back, and I'm back into the main grid module. Now there's other ones you use, L, which I've spoke about before, which is the lights out module, and also X, which is marking an image as flagged for rejection. So if I find an image that I don't like, So there's one of the horses in the background in Iceland, so I just press X and you can see the flag there, and once that's in I can go into the file option and it's under photo and delete rejected photos, and what it'll do, it'll delete that photo, and that's it. And then the other one I use is ratings, which is obviously 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this image here, I want to give it a 3 rating, just click the number 3 and there it is, rating done. And it also adds for colours as well. Colours goes from I think it's 6, 7, 8 and then 9. And if you press 0, it just gets rid of the rating. One other thing people love doing on Lightroom is making it personal to them. A great way of doing this is changing the identity plate and the emblems. Something I've done and I love doing it is this is one I've done with my logo and my name, and then I've got the logo again on the emblem down here, and you can see it on the right as well. And it's very easy to make. All you go into is Lightroom and then identity plate setup. Click that, and here you go, you've got your, we locate the file of where it is. I can't remember the exact resolution, it's very easy to find online, and you can also change the text, you can change the size of it, the colours, everything. It's a great way. I love that Lightroom did that because it just makes it a bit more personal to you, it makes it fit the sort of colour scheme that you're going for, so you know, it's something I recommend doing. So I'm just going to cancel out of there, and to change the emblem, it's a little harder to do. What you do is you go into your preferences, interface, which is right there, and then you've got panels and you've got end marks. Now I've created a couple of files that I've done in the past, but this top one is the one I'm using now, and to get to it you click this folder, and then once in there you drag the image over into it, and then close preferences, reopen it, and the file will be there. You just click it and there you go. You know, if I go on to, you know, small flourish, I can just, you can see the old original one there, and then I click that one and there you go. Just make sure to resize it to the right size. I think it's, I use 100 pixels by 100 pixels for my logo. One other thing I recommend to all users is to enable solo mode. Now what solo mode is, when you have all these panels open, what you'll get is you'll get to a point where all the panels are open and you start losing track of where they are, and you can't find what the last thing you're editing on because everything was open, and it gets really frustrating. So there's a way around that, and it's called solo mode. Now all you need to do is go on, click control or right click on PC and click one of the panels, and you see solo mode just here. All you do is enable that, and once it's enabled, every time you're editing, say you're on the basic module here and you want to go to, I don't know, detail or tone curve, all you do is click that and it automatically closes the other panel, which is a brilliant way of getting around things quickly, and it means that it's not a mess, and you know, it's annoying when there's like several panels open. So I really recommend doing that. So it's really simple to do. Another tip I find quite handy, it's something you don't really need to do that often, but I do recommend doing it. You know, once you have a build-up of images, all the metadata, everything in there, you know, you will eventually see Lightroom start to slow down a bit. Sometimes it's not that dramatic, but you still notice like loading time is a bit longer, you know, putting editing in takes a little longer. So what you need to do to stop that from happening and refresh your Lightroom catalog is you go to File, Optimize Catalog, so it kind of refreshes it, gives it a new life, and it doesn't do anything bad to it. So you just click that once and you can see it'll give a time of when your catalog was last optimized. So mine was done at the end of April, at 820. If it has been running slowly and you haven't optimized recent, optimize and again improve performance. Exactly what you need to do. So you just click optimize, and it'll take a few minutes. It doesn't take that long, and once that's done, you know, sometimes you'll find out if you click it, you might have not done it in a whole year. So I really recommend just even checking to see when the last time you did it. I do it every couple months. As you can see, last time was April, so round about now is a good time for me. One thing I mentioned earlier is that I love to do split toning in my black and white images. Now, I also love to do it in my colour images, but I primarily do it in black and white. So I'm just going to show you my sort of sweet spot of what I tend to do in my images. So I've got this image here, and what I usually do is I don't have definite numbers. You know, I don't say I go to 35 every time. I do have a preset like you saw earlier, but I mainly do it by eye. It's different for every image. So I go into sort of the yellow orangey colours, and I just turn up the saturation a little bit, and then for the shadows I go into the light blue just before it turns purple, around about there, and I usually add about the same sort of colour. And you can see when you bring in the blue combined with the orange, it kind of balances the colours a bit, and from here I can just slowly mess around with the saturation and the colours and also the balance between them and see which style really works best. So in here I probably just pull that down a bit there, pull the saturation down in the blue, and that's the sort of image I'd go for. Now that's the style I go for nearly all of my image, but it works in colour as well. If you put the saturation down of the image and then add this, it adds a sort of filmic look to it, and it actually looks pretty cool. For my last tip, I find this absolutely bloody crucial with working in Lightroom, and that's backing up your catalogue. Now, you should be backing up your images anyway, regardless. You know, I don't care what sort of excuses you have. You know, you should have at least 2-3 backups of your images, and if you can, try and have an off-site backup, you know, at your mum's house or a safety deposit box or something, just somewhere so it's not out to your physical house. Because it's great if you get, you know, if you got robbed and someone stole your equipment, you know, your backups are usually right next to your computer, and you know, the chances are they'll take the hard drives as well with them. You know, hard drives are expensive, so an off-site would be great. But also you need to back up the catalogue, because the catalogue has all your settings, your info, just the way how the catalogue works, and I really recommend backing it up, because I have had crashes with catalogues before in the past, and I've had to rebuild them again, and luckily I've had a backup of the catalogue and added that into it, reloaded it, and everything was back to normal, like nothing had happened. So all you do, you go into, to set it up, Lightroom, catalogue settings, and it's just here, it says backup catalogue, and my setting is every time Lightroom exits. You've got all the different options, never, which they shouldn't even have in there, they should just get rid of that completely. Once a month, once a week, once a day, or when Lightroom next enters, so it's like one every other time. I have it every time, so let's close this and Lightroom, and then quit Lightroom, and here it is. This is your little pop-up thing comes up, and I just keep these both clicked, just optimize the catalogue after backing up. Now this is different from the main optimization. As you'll see earlier, the whole catalogue optimization was done last April. This is, I think it's a smaller sort of optimize on the catalogue. And then all you do, if you're in a rush for some reason, you can skip it or you can back up. And this is also the backup folder. So I have a folder on my master drive, and it'll have all the backups in it. But I also, once a week, I take these backups and I put them on other drives just in case I lose this drive. This is I'm working off an external Thunderbolt drive at the moment, so it's quite a fast drive, but I also have backups of this as well in other locations. So you just click backup, and it just tests the integrity and just backs it up. Sometimes it takes a few minutes, but sometimes it doesn't take that long at all. Well, this is the end of my Lightroom tutorial, my top 10 tips. I hope you found them interesting. If you have any tips yourself that you feel I haven't covered or you find really handy, please just leave a comment on this video, and I'd love to read them. Thanks for watching. More videos on the way. See you later.